Today we're going to discuss a frequently aired statement of students of the course, namely, I'm running out of time, how can I possibly do this? And this is not only with students who we would think of as being of elderly age, but even students who are younger. How am I ever going to get this done? I want to get this done. There's not enough time. How can I ever get past my ego? And this frequently is voiced after a while, after students have been working with the course a while, when they become aware of the enormity of the immense size of their ego, or what they experience to be the immense size of their ego. And the problem with these kinds of concerns, even though they're more than understandable, is that they're based on the idea that the ego is real. And not only is the ego real, but it's a formidable foe. So formidable, in fact, that there's no way one could see that one could undo it in this lifetime or even many lifetimes. And once again, the problem is that this makes the ego real, which of course the ego, a concern that the ego truly blesses. If the ego is conceived of as real, there is no way it could ever be transcended. There's no way it could ever be let go. There's no way that one would ever have enough time. Because how could one ever transcend Mount Everest of problems that the ego presents to us? The issue, once again, as it always is not the ego itself, but the mind's belief in it. And so the problem behind all these questions, or the concern behind all these questions, is that I don't want to let go of my ego. And then the reaction formation is that I do want to let go of my ego, and I want to let go of my ego right away. I want to let go of my ego tomorrow, or even yesterday would be better. And the problem is that one does not hear the underlying thought that says, I never want to let go of my ego. And what's in back of my never wanting to let go of my ego is that I believe I'm real, I believe my existence is substantial, and therefore my ego is alive and well, and obviously quite substantial. If I did not believe in that, if that were not the underlying content behind my expressed concern, if that were not the content, then I would never be concerned about it. I would simply say, well, I could let go of the ego in an instant, which of course is what Jesus tells us repeatedly in A Course in Miracles. That the problem is not the ego, is not the apparent or experienced immensity of the ego, mine or anyone else's. The problem is my belief in it. That's what has to be looked at. And when I let go of that belief in the ego disappears. And this can be done in an instant. After all, the mind is outside of time and space. So the mind doesn't know about how long something would take. Right? And so there's the holy instant when we choose the ego, the unholy instant when we choose the ego, and the holy instant when we choose the Holy Spirit or Jesus as our teacher. Right? That's the issue. So all of these concerns, how long will it take me? I'll never have enough time. I want to get done quickly. We don't recognize that we're really shooting ourselves in the foot. That at the same time that we're consciously trying and sincerely consciously trying to be done with the ego, underlying it, we're merely strengthening the ego. And so I mentioned briefly a moment ago, reaction formation. This was one of Freud's contributions, one of the defense mechanisms. This is where we act or believe or say things the opposite of what we unconsciously feel. And so what would really be helpful whenever we find ourselves raising these concerns to others or even to ourselves is to stop and say, what is the underlying thought behind this? And that underlying thought is always, I don't want to let go of my ego. And therefore, what keeps my ego alive and well is believing it is strong and solid. And then I forget that it's not strong or solid. It's simply my investment in the ego which is strong. So what I want to do is change my investment in the ego, and at that point then I recognize no time is needed for this at all. So once again, what we do is we look at our behavior, verbal or otherwise, and we use that as the royal road that leads us back to the underlying thought. In other words, the world I see is an outside picture of an inward condition. The concern I have, the concern with letting go of my ego quickly, is an outside picture of an inward condition. And it's that inward condition that I want to look at, examine, and then finally change.